Hi, welcome back to the Wiscos of Blended Family. I'm Mike, this is my wife Nicole. We received a letter last week from Nancy, and via Facebook, and she told us about some of the things going on in their household. She has this overwhelming urge to leave.
Yeah, we actually experienced that ourselves, so we're hoping that today's message will speak to you directly, Nancy, and to those of you who do feel like you took on a little bit too much. I think that we'll hit on that in today's message, and there's a few other things that you could use as takeaways. Because I remember when we first started dating, we thought, you're going to go from like how great this is, everybody got along when we were dating. So you have this like great girl and this great guy, and you think, oh, it's going to be such smooth sailing. And then you put all the personalities together and the teenage attitudes, and it's like wham, it's absolute chaos. It's chaos in your house, and I'm sure you've experienced that.
Yeah, one of our favorite authors actually said that blending a family is kind of like trying to do a jigsaw puzzle with a blindfold on.
Yeah, and I think that really sums it up, because you come into a situation together thinking that, again, everything is going to go smoothly, everything and everyone is going to get along great, and that doesn't necessarily happen. So you're trying to get these pieces to fit, and you have no idea how to make it work. As Christians, Nicole and I both believe that the Bible is kind of our owner's manual, and that you got to have God and Jesus at the center of your relationship. That's that rock you can fall back on, and He never changes. So that's very comforting to us. And you keep God at the center, and then have a lot of love and respect for one another, and we'll go ahead and cover that. That's really important. The love and respect piece is really huge. I'm just going to give you two quotes. 1 Corinthians 13. I'm sure most of you have heard this and you've seen it on plaques. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs, love does not delight in evil but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And I think it's so easy. There it is. That's what God wants for your marriage. And then you look at Ephesians, and it says, husbands, love your wives, and women, respect your husbands. And if I can give you an example, I think, like, I tell friends sometimes about respecting your husband, and they get you get a little disgruntled, like they think they're going to have to like bow down to the husband. But respect is really a simple thing. Like, baby, thank you so much for going to work and always taking care of our family. It's like the lights are always on and there's always food in the refrigerator. It's a simple thing like that, showing respect to your husband. Well,
and a lot of times some of your girlfriend's response is that he doesn't deserve it.
Right.
Well, you do your best to respect me even when I don't deserve it. And on the flip side, as far as loving your wife, she doesn't always deserve it, but I always have to make that extra effort, especially when she doesn't deserve it, to love her. And once again, if you can run this parallel to what the Bible says, there's a lot of things that Jesus has done for us that we don't deserve, but He still does them, and that's what He wants us to do for our husbands and wives.
Well, give an example from a man's perspective of what loving your wife would look
Well,
like.
it would be, even no matter how tired you are, no matter what kind of mood you are, what your wife is in, you go up and you give her a hug and say, gosh, I missed you today, honey. Love you, missed you.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get home. And the moods will automatically change, even though it might be, as weird as it sounds, it might be painful to do that because you just don't feel like it.
Right.
If you do it, the mood automatically changes.
It does. Things get a little bit softer. It's like, in the only way truly to have harmony in your house, for it to be peaceful and loving, is to follow those two biblical ideas. And it's so important, because what those ideas do is unite you as a couple. And I think being united is what's huge in a blended family. I think that's one of the biggest lessons that we learned so far.
There's been times when the kids will have issues with one another, and we'll get pulled in, and we automatically go to the side of our biological kid.
Which is typical and very common. So You're not the only ones who do it.
Right, and you know, if you want to pull up an example of things that don't work, then Nicole and I start bickering, defending our kids, and the kids are bickering. And we know that that happens with you because that is the biggest thing. That's one of the biggest things to have to overcome. But what we found is if Nicole and I stay united, you know, if we have little issues with our biological kids, we can talk about them, you know, at a different time when the kids are around. But if we stay united, the kids will learn that that isn't going to work. And even if they're not trying something,
right,
they'll still learn that, you know, mom and dad are united.
And what usually happens to me, what have I done when we're not united?
When we're not united, one of our standing jokes is, kids, pack your stuff, we're going home.
And that's exactly what I've always wanted to do, is just run.
And then my girls run up to me and say, Dad, Nicole's leaving. And I very calmly say, no, she's not.
I usually make it till about the driveway. So, you know, but...
Unfortunately, Brando's got a suitcase that he's never unpacked.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But we're a work in progress as well.
So, you know, with that, I wanted to go back to what felt safe. I still had my house when we first got married. It was on the market. And it's like the idea of knowing that I could just go back to what felt safe, what was comfortable, what was quiet, which felt peaceful to me was what made more sense at the time.
You know, going back to the Old Testament, it was in Numbers that the Israelites, after God freed them from Egypt, and Moses was leading them to the Promised Land. Granted, 40 years is a long time, but there was some grumbling going on. You know, only if I was back in Egypt, at least, you know, as a slave, that I would have meat to eat. Right,
there'd be food. So just a lot of grumbling, complaining.
Yeah, why did we leave Egypt? We had it so good there, other than the fact that we had, you know, balls chained to our ankles.
Right.
But it was safer and more secure, even though they didn't have their freedom. They're out in the wilderness. They have that Promised Land, which is the Promised Land in this respect is your blended family being united and living together harmoniously. It can happen, but you gotta be led around a little bit and go through some of the hard stuff.
Right. Because I mean, trust me, we've gone through our bumps and highs and lows, and leaving is not the solution. I mean, it's really not good for anyone. But it's like grace, mercy, and peace are only going to come in from you guys working together as a family, and just again staying united.
This week, I would say your job is to be an example.
Me or them?
What's that?
Me or them?
Them.
Okay, just
and
making
you.
sure. What?
Yes. To be an example of what God's love is and what it can be, because your kids, you know, granted, I know you can be 12 inches from them and you tell them to go clean their room or put their laundry away and they don't hear you.
Right.
But boy, if you have an argument and they're 2 houses down playing with the kids, you'll get a text. What's wrong with you guys?
Right. Yeah.
Especially when you argue with Nicole, because trust me, the whole neighborhood does hear it.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
So just understand that those kids are taking little mental snapshots
every day
of what's going on, and they see how you treat one another. So that's one of the things we should work on for the next week.
Yep. And just keep in mind that you're teaching your children how to be married. You're teaching them how to be a wife. You're teaching them how to be a father. You're teaching them how to be parents. So with every move you make and everything that you do, like Mike said, they take mental snapshots of everything that you're doing. So you're teaching them the adults that you want them to be, which I think is a really important lesson. And also work on this week, they're your children. They're not mine, they're not his, they're ours. You really have to get out of the mindset of ownership of the kids. I mean, biologically, yes, they are yours, but you're now a family, so they're our children.
Yeah, and that's tough to do, but with a little work and a little prayer, you can do it, because it is hard to do.
Yep.
So anyway, thanks for watching this week. We hope you watch next week, and Nancy, hope that answered your question. Remember, you can get in touch with us. You can send us questions or even comments at the Facebook page right here. And always remember...
don't you dare steal my line. Just take some time out every day to always look for the smallest of blessings.
Bye.